When you're ready.
Give me one moment.
Sure.
All good.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the May 2023 full board meeting for Manhattan Community Board 4. Sorry, just read an April script line there instead. Thank you for joining us this evening on the squares. I'll note that this year's Tony nominations have been announced, and since the CB4 Musical Comedy Committee did not convene, we didn't make the cut this year, nor were we considered for any of the revival show categories. But alas, surely some of our neighbors are in shows that were nominated. So here's to the Tonys. My name is Jeffrey LeFrancois. It's a privilege to be calling this meeting to order this evening as chair. Our meeting tonight is being held via Zoom as the mayor's executive order continues to be extended. This meeting is being streamed live on our YouTube channel and is accessible after the meeting as well. Please note that our June full board meeting will be in person, as will our July meeting. So please stay tuned for those details. If and when the time comes that the mayor stops signing the executive order to allow for virtual meetings, our hybrid meeting policy will take effect. We are preparing for that to happen, so you'll hear us talk a lot about this. I hope that chairs will bring this up at meetings over the next course of the month as well. So stay tuned for more on that from Jesse or me. As is our custom, we'll have public session when members of the public will be given the ability to speak during that time. Our second vice chair is stepping into the role of first vice chair this evening, so thanks for pinch hitting Leslie. And note that we do have a long list of speakers, and so stay tuned for that section of the meeting. The agenda for tonight's meeting can be found on our website at mcb4.nyc. And we start tonight with a update from our captain of the 10th precinct, Captain Robert Gault. I pass it over to you to hear about what's been going on in the 10th.
Thanks, Jeffrey. Good to be back here. It's been quite a few months, I think, since my last presentation. So just give you a little update, although, you know, we obviously have a smaller kind of community updates that I've been sending out. We're continuing to do more with less in terms of our enforcement efforts in the 10th precinct. I'll just give you a little quick overview. And as we spoke about in the past, a lot of the crimes that we're seeing are being driven by addiction, narcotics use, individuals clearly in need of behavioral health services and substance abuse services. So that remains the challenge. And what we're finding is when we're making these arrests, typically they involve narcotics in some form or fashion, and they also involve individuals, recidivists. So the revolving door continues in terms of individuals that we're arresting that are back out there with the same problems and kind of creating the same kind of criminal and quality of life conditions. Just an overview, because I started out saying that we continue to be highly productive in the 10th precinct. Year to date, we're talking about narcotics. Year to date, our narcotics level arrests are up 71% for 70 narcotics arrests versus 41 year to date, if you compare last year to this year. And then overall, our patrol services arrests, the uniform patrol services people that are out there, the visible face of the police department, we have an increase in those arrests of 22%, of 250 versus 205 last year's to date. So we're really doing very well. Unfortunately, that's not translating into a decrease in crime. Overall, year to date, our 7 major index crime has increased 4.7% for a total of crimes of 379 versus 362. One of the most concerning things about the crime is, by and large, this crime is being driven by property crimes, the biggest increase being grand larcenies. But another indicator that I find concerning is that our felony assaults are up for year to date 7.7%, which is 42 versus 39. And there's been a number of these kinds of assaults that we're seeing out there. We recently had one involving an ice pick along the problematic 8th Avenue corridor. We had another one where an individual basically stole a knife off of an outdoor dining area on 8th Avenue, stole the knife, and then continued on to menace someone. Earlier today, we had a very troubling and concerning arrest that is still under investigation, and we're hoping to apprehend this individual. But it was an unprovoked elderly assault where an elderly person was leaving the station, subway station on 23rd Street and was assaulted with a hammer on 23rd Street between 7th Avenue and 8th Avenue. So obviously we take these things very seriously. It's very concerning, particularly when the individuals that are perpetrating the assaults are basically unprovoked at the time, and they have oftentimes very extensive criminal histories, oftentimes bench warrants and open cases in court. Just on a more positive note, we do have some success stories. This past Wednesday, last week, I guess, we had the community council meeting. We held it in person at the station house at the 10th precinct. I know Pamela Wolf, I think, is on here, and she attended, so we thank her for that. She's a great community leader. But you know, I felt it very important because last month on March 16th, it was covered, I think New York One covered it and had some media attention. We had the Good Samaritan of Chelsea. So he was basically, he's not from Chelsea, he's from the Upper East Side of Manhattan, came down here to celebrate a birthday. I think his birthday was actually on St. Patrick's Day. And this is an elderly man, but a heroic, you know, very, very brave person that the community should be thankful for. He was basically with someone going to go out and celebrate his birthday, and he came upon an individual. Actually, it was hot pursuit. The police were chasing a felon who was in possession of a long gun, a high-point rifle, semi-automatic. He was also in possession of a loaded .357 Magnum revolver, and he got involved in some sort of a menacing dispute involving a child that was fearful. Kind of when you look at the video, the child ran out of this smoke shop on 9th Avenue and ran away from him, and the police were called. Great response by the 10th precinct, got there very quickly, and upon rolling up on this individual with, like I said, a long gun and a loaded .357 revolver, you know, he saw the police roll up. He immediately started running from the police. He ditched the rifle along the way. We had two crime scenes, actually. One where he ditched the rifle like over a fence, I think, running through like this residential neighborhood. And then with the .357 revolver in hand, he basically kind of gets like tackled or hip checked or something by the good Samaritan, who stopped him in his tracks with the police in pursuit. We were able to make that arrest. Like I said, there was a couple of crime scenes involved because we had a couple of firearms involved. We made the arrest. The Department of Homeland Security, the special agents over there, took an interest in this because of this individual's history, had a history of firearms possession, a very extensive criminal history. And that case was taken immediately. There was an interest federally by the Southern District of New York, where it's being prosecuted, and that individual has been remanded. So these are the kind of things that we're concerned about, but I can assure you that the 10th precinct, and I'm sure you could attest to this, Jeffrey, we are on top of these things, and we're doing the best that we can. And we had some really good success in terms of making these apprehensions.
Thank you for that, Captain. In particular, obviously well aware of the focus you've given to the long troubled 8th Avenue corridor. So appreciate that, as well as your communication on it. I also want to shout out and acknowledge your continued recognition of the difficult environment that's been created at the Eagle, which is in the 10th, and their continued effort to make sure that, you know, patrons there are safe, and appreciate your willingness to you know, be smart about how we're looking out for folks in the community. So thank you again for that.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, thanks for mentioning that. Obviously, the LGBT community is very, very important and really kind of is a crucial part of the you know, the vibrant neighborhood of Chelsea. So it's not always about, chasing down people and making the apprehensions. Sometimes it's about proper outreach. And we've been very much involved in the outreach. I've sent my community affairs team. I have Officer Di Lorenzo here with me. We've had great cooperation over at the Eagle. They've been targeted clearly. There's been investigations. We've turned some of these investigations over to our hate crimes task force. I don't want to get into too much of the investigations and where it's leading, but certainly we are mindful of that, and whatever we can do moving forward, we will. And we have a big part of our community here is the nightlife community. So it's not even just the Chelsea. We have the meatpacking district, and I know that you're familiar with the meatpacking district.
Sure.
So we've made some really good arrests over there, and it's a shame because a lot of the career criminals that are out there, they're opportunists. So if they can prey upon someone who's out having a good time, maybe has a couple of drinks in them, and their guard is down, they are experts at reading human behavior, and if they see a vulnerability, they take part of it. So we're keeping a watchful eye on that, and thank you for acknowledging it.
Sure thing. If you have time for a couple of questions, Hector.
Hey, Captain Gault, how you doing? Glad to see you.
Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a while. I wanted to bring up the situation that you're probably well aware of with the schools in the vicinity of Chelsea, specifically the 18th Street corridor there. We have a couple of incidences that have happened recently.
Yesterday.
We had a tenant maced because basically they asked the students to leave our lobbies in the building of Fulton houses. They're trespassing constantly. And now recently we had a slashing at the high school on 18th Street right here recently of another student. And I've passed the corridor on 18th Street specifically on several occasions. And I found students smoking pot, getting into fights. And it's, and basically just videotaping for social media a lot of these events, which is kind of crazy considering that these kids represent our future. And I know that school safety officers are supposed to be responsible for the majority of these things, but the conversations we've had with them is that their domain really extends only to maybe to the front of the school, and that's it. Yeah, otherwise they wash their hands off. And we've had meetings repeatedly with the principals, and responses we've been getting are, it's not our kids. And we've literally had to show photographs where their kids are caught on video saying that, well, this is one of your students, isn't it? And it's like back and forth. So I'd like to know what exactly is going to be done about this, because it's escalating, obviously, and as the summer months come, it's going to get worse.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that I would have liked to have brought up initially too. So yesterday, so to answer your question, the Mace incident in the Fulton housing development, it involved a group of kids. I believe there was 2 schools involved. There was, but that was solved, and I believe the arrest was made. And again, that was we were talking about vulnerable communities here, and that was someone that by every legal definition and every common definition was an elderly individual, and he was simply trying. He lives there. You should be able to live in your housing development free of that kind of loitering, harassment, and weapons being brought into the housing development. So the police did an excellent job. We'll speak a little bit about our YCOs. We've expanded the YCO program. We used to typically have 2. We now have 5. So for everyone that's listening that doesn't know what a YCO is, it's under the auspices of the neighborhood coordination officer model, and it's a youth coordination officer. And what we did with the YCOs too is, I think when the program was kind of first set up, it was set up that, okay, it's not a school cop, it's a youth cop. And we need to have coverage on the weekends as well, because youth get into trouble on the weekends too. We kind of reconsidered that. in light of the various things that are happening at the schools. We need more boots on the grounds at the schools, and we need the uniform 10th Precinct Police and really other commands as well to go in and take the lead at the schools, because like you said, there's a limited role that the school safety agents are gonna be involved in, and we just have the training and the experience to really handle these things. So we've expanded the YCO program. We've kind of changed the hours. So I have, out of those 5, I have some of them starting earlier in the day, some of them starting a little bit later in the day. So there's no issues with school drop-offs in the morning and then school drop-off pickups in the later afternoon. And to speak to yesterday's event, what I will tell you is that the 10th Precinct, and I'm so proud of the officers here, they got over to that school. This really gruesome slashing that occurred. It occurred inside the school. James Baldwin High School, which is one of the high schools within the humanities campus, and it was a very bloody scene. They identified the two students. Now, mind you, I did a lot of follow-up on this. These 2 students were recently transferred to that school this school year because there was problems with their educational development elsewhere. So they were brought into the school to kind of help them with the problems that they were having, and they've gotten involved in this criminal act that involved it was basically like an X-Acto blade that was also recovered at the scene. They were both 17 years old, the 2 students that perpetrated the crime. The victim was either 15 or 16. He was removed to Bellevue Hospital. He had a laceration to his chest area and a contusion to his lip. And he was given 5 stitches at the hospital. And like I said, we got over there, we were able to make the arrest right away. Now, just to follow up on the arrests is one of the 17-year-olds has an extensive felony history, and basically we've been connected to a robbery. He's a pattern robbery perpetrator. But you know, due to recent changes in the state laws, to raise the age kind of complicates things because they're under the age of 18. Typically, before that legislative change, it would have been 16 years old. They would have been charged as an adult. So I'm kind of following up, you know, and monitoring this. What we did was, you know, and as per New York state law, this individual was charged. The 2 individuals, the one doesn't appear to have a criminal history. He's already been released on his recognizance, and the case has been moved to family court. The individual with the extensive felony history is actually remanded based on there's a mechanism in the law, notwithstanding the raise the age, where he can be, you know, prosecuted criminally, and he is. It went before a criminal court judge, and he's been remanded, and hopefully we will be able to see some level of reform. So the follow-up to it, I'm giving you a very long answer, but it's an excellent question, and it deserves the attention that I'm giving it. Following yesterday's incident, I held a crime strategies meeting in person at my office, and I invited the civilian leadership, the civilian school safety, the commander of that and his executive officer. And mind you, they're not police officers, they're agents, but they still work for the police department, and they still work under my command in the 10th Precinct. So I sat down with them. We had a long conversation about expectations, about what the, you know, obviously what the community is looking for as well. And what we came out of that meeting yesterday was, you know, conversation about how are we going to follow up today? And we decided that there was going to be a strategic deployment today. We had some unannounced scanning, the metal detector scanners at the school. And just to kind of give you an idea of the level of danger when you're entering these schools, and this is not conducive to a learning environment, obviously, today. And this isn't even my updated list of what was recovered at that school with the scanning, the unannounced scanning. Like I said, not the complete list because I got this earlier in the day. Today recovered 4 knives, 11 pepper sprays, 2 small key batons, 1 box cutter, 1 taser, and 1 brass knuckle. So this is a problem, and this is a conversation that needs to be had. We need to really have a very frank and honest discussion about, is this the kind of community that we want, and is this the kind of learning environment? This needs to be fixed. It can't all fall on the shoulders of the 10th precinct and NYPD. We need the good people of the community like yourselves to really bring this to the attention that this is not sustainable and this is not good for the overall progress of the Chelsea community. So
thank you for that. I want to leave time for just the 2 last hands that are up. Katie will have the last question, but I'm going to go to Marty next, please.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. I always appreciate the police department speaking to us. There's a lot of information that we benefit from hearing from you. So thank you very much. I'm concerned as a senior about my increased discomfort with motorized, unlicensed, 2-wheeled motorized vehicles that can go faster than 25 miles an hour. I identify those in particular. I'm also concerned about the electric vehicles. A lot of these that can go faster than 25 miles an hour, none of them are, or a lot of them. What's happening with those things?
You broke up a little, sir, but I think I know the basis of your question. The question is concerns about safety regarding kind of the unbridled use of motorized vehicles on the streets of New York.
Particularly those that can go faster than 25 miles an hour.
Yeah, I share your concern. I'm a New York City resident. The bicycle lanes, I don't think were ever envisioned to kind of be like the Autobahn. You step out and you'll have e-bikes. Those can move as well. So you have the e-bikes, and then you also have now. I think you also have like an e-bike style city bike too. That's kind of really being sanctioned by those in policy. So what's being done? What's being done is we're obviously doing criminal investigations because a number of these motorcycles, these smaller style motor scooters, have been involved in citywide robbery patterns. So what we've seen is individuals, oftentimes 2 of them on one, and they're preying upon people with Apple AirPod Maxes that are a very hot item, I suppose, and there's a market for them. If you steal them, you can resell them. So we've had numerous initiatives. We've made numerous arrests because sometimes it's not just the person that's trying to get to work and is using a bicycle and is mindful of there's too many cars. These are being used as instruments of crime, and we have confiscated numerous. What we're also finding is when we stop them, oftentimes, and for those of you that drive or about the city, and a lot of this I feel kind of came out of COVID too, because the DMV kind of shut down and the world kind of was just trying to handle all sorts of stuff coming at us, and we kind of forgot about you have to register your vehicles, you have to have insurance, you have to have registration, and you have to operate it lawfully. And that seems like that kind of went out. And then you have them being used in crimes. So there's really no quick, easy solution to this. We're limited in terms of being able to. I mean, there have been some pursuits where these are citywide. Chief Madry is really overseeing. It's called the community response teams citywide that are going out doing mass confiscations of them. And we've done it on a local level where I'll just send people out and, we have per se legal ability to confiscate them if they're not registered. It's per se unlawful to operate a motor vehicle without a registration and insurance. And when that occurs, we invoice it, we take it. But in terms of where we're storing them, we the resources become an issue because there's just so many of them, and then the precinct is not even equipped to really store that many of them. So we're doing the best that we can, but it's clearly a problem, and I think it's a problem that perhaps could be addressed on the state level in terms of DMV or passing statutes or policies to make it less easy. Not so easy to be able to purchase one of these and operate them on the streets of New York City.
Thanks, Katie. Final question.
Thanks, Captain Gault, for coming to speak with us. I was intrigued when you said near the beginning of your comments that narcotics arrests are up about 70%, and that you said that many crimes you think are being driven by narcotics. And I was curious, sort of how or why the narcotics arrests are up 70%. Is there a particular focus? Are you arresting, and are the arrests of, users? Are they of distributors? And sort of like, what are you finding in the patterns? And are you finding that a lot of the people being arrested are being rearrested?
Yeah, so there's obviously, I think I touched upon the revolving door. So narcotics sales and narcotics possession are not bail eligible. So when we arrest them, they're as per the statute. If I was to arrest somebody for narcotic sales, selling, say you live, say, on 30th Street, and somebody sets up shop and sells narcotics in front of your home, and we catch that person and we arrest them and we bring them to court, they're not eligible to be held in on bail as per New York state law. So when we arrest them, they get processed, and obviously you could imagine how long the entire process to prosecute someone is. It could go on for years. So what we're seeing is they get released and they go back to the same location and they sell more narcotics and they make more money. We arrest them and then they come back out and they do it again. So it's an interesting business model, because until you're held and there's real consequences for your activity, and you're making a lot of money doing it, what we find is that they continue to do it. So that accounts for a good portion of our arrests. What we're finding is we're not arresting someone who had a bad day and made a bad decision that day. We're arresting someone who's made a career out of, committing these crimes because it pays them money and it supports their own addiction. So that's the other issue. We're finding that those that are selling, typically the lower level sellers, they're also users as well. So until we can break that cycle of addiction, the cycle of recidivism, and we could hold people accountable, or at least connect them to services that are meaningful, that are going to break the cycle, unfortunately, we're going to just keep having to make these arrests until it has some sort of a positive effect. And then to answer your question further, it's not just the possession. I've been involved in dialogue with the Manhattan South Narcotics Division, who are trained kind of to do operations where they're getting the actual sellers, like buy and bust kind of operations. And a lot of this was really, I have to give a lot of credit. And I don't know if there's anyone on here. I know Pamela Wolf is very plugged into everything that's going on over by 21st and 8th. And we have a very, very activist PTA, PS11's PTA has really been very vocal, and they've kind of really given a lot of traction to our efforts in terms of, bringing attention to this, and people starting to realize we need to really up our game if we're going to keep children that are going to school safe, and then community members like yourself safe.
Thank you for that, Captain, for Katie and the question, and for everybody tonight. And Captain, appreciate you being here this evening, and we will hear more from you soon.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Up next on the agenda, we are going to the public hearing portion of our meeting. Significant change in topic. Wanting to hear about rat conditions in Community Board 4, given the new appointment of the city's rat czar. We thought it would be relevant to have this on the agenda. We have one person who signed up to speak this evening. Jesse, have you brought that? Are they here, and were they brought over?
They are here and they're being brought over. I believe Missy's with us.
Excellent.
Hello.
Hi,
everybody.
Missy. You have 2 minutes on the topic of rats and the state of them in the district.
Okay. Yes, we have a terrible rat problem on my corner, 20th and 9th. And 2 reasons, the sheds, the restaurant sheds, they live under them. I mean, they just have a great time. And the trash, the plastic garbage bags, they need to be in garbage cans so that they can't access them, because they go from the flower pits to the sheds to the delicious garbage from the patisserie and Boca de Baco. And it's, you really can't walk after dark because it's just so many rats. They live all along 9th between 20th and 21st, and it's horrendous. I don't know. I have a solution, but I don't know if the city's looked into it or not. The poison doesn't work because they're smarter than the poison. And they have better food to eat than poison. I wonder if there's a way we can give them rat birth control. I know other cities have introduced birth control for rats, and it seemed to be successful, but I haven't heard it as a solution in New York. But considering it's tested on rats, so and rats seem to be very fecund, as they say, it may be a way to reduce the population significantly. So that's it on rats. Also, we're still having a garbage can problem. I know it's a little bit of a sideline, but we're still having a garbage can problem. Sanitation seems to be a little spiteful with this, but the garden club and rats will come over if they put the garbage cans in the tree pits. So that's it. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Missy. Right on time. Appreciate you being here.
Missy, and I'll follow up with you on both of those topics. I was hoping that the work between myself and Eric Botcher's office about the trash cans was going to.
I know. They won't listen to anybody. I'm not sure what to do.
We will continue. Thank you.
Okay.
Pick it back up.
Up next, continuing the vein in public speaking, I'm going to pass it over to our second vice chair, standing in tonight for Jessica Chait, our first vice chair, Leslie Murphy, to run the public session. Leslie?
Thank you, Jeffrey. So this is, as Jeffrey said, this is the public comment session. There are people who signed up. I will call their names out, and Jesse, if you can send them over so they can speak. Everyone will get 2 minutes. I'll set the timer. So why don't we start with Joseph Merlot, Burkay Sabat, and Guillermo Murga. Those are the first 3 on my list. Jesse, you're muted if you're talking.
My apologies. Joseph, I don't have in the attendees section, but Burkay I brought over, so you can start with.
Burkay, it's all yours, and I can set the timer for you.
Oh, you have to accept when I bring you over, Burkay. There we go.
Burkay, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Burkay? I can't. Oh, I do see you. You're on mute if you're talking. There you go.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm kind of nervous. This is my first community board thing ever.
No one's going to bite. No one's going to yell at you. Go ahead. Don't be nervous.
Okay. My name is Burkay. Joseph is actually my business partner. I'm a former resident. I lived on 359 West 30th. I moved out last year. The reason I'm contacting you all today, I'm a member of the CARD program. It's a conditional adult use retail dispensary program. It's for people who've previously been affected in the past by cannabis legislation, and the state has given us a chance, I guess, to make up for what was unjust legislation at the time. And one of the parts of this program is the ability to open up an adult use cannabis retail dispensary location, a licensed one from New York State. I having lived in the area, I kind of know the area pretty well and was considering potentially opening up a location somewhere on either 8th or 9th Avenue. But before I did anything, I wanted to run it by you all and the community board and kind of see if you had any questions, concerns, comments, or anything else of that nature. And just wanted to also introduce myself, I guess, since I hope to do business in your neighborhood. I can talk a little bit more about the current status of cannabis in New York, just really quick. I'm going to run out of time soon, but right now there is a lot of, there's about 1,500 unlicensed dispensaries in the state and in the city, actually. There's several on 8th Avenue, 9th Avenue. I've been to all of them. I'm sure you guys have seen them. There's only 5 licensed locations, and I think there's about 160 of us that have licenses now. So if given the opportunity to work with you and open up in Chelsea, I'd be one of the 7th or 8th licensed dispensaries in New York. We comply with all state and local regulations concerning everything from how we display the product to who we sell to.
Okay, that's time. That's time.
Okay.
But that's okay. You know
Thank
what?
you.
If you want to connect with Jesse, who is our district manager, we actually do have a cannabis working group that
Okay.
goes into this topic in more detail. So that might be a nice connection if you're interested.
No, definitely I am.
Okay.
I'd love to know more.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. And I guess
Thank
you
you.
said your partner, Joseph, he's not here, right, Jesse, you said?
He lost the link most likely. He doesn't really know how to check email. I have to talk
Okay.
to him.
And I see Dale's hand is up. I don't know if that's for this or public session.
Yeah, we don't really get into back and forth.
Yeah, I don't know.
Dale.
I just wanted to add that there's a record of correspondence on this subject from
Dale, I'm
CB.
sorry, the public session is
And
not back and forth. So if you want to raise your hand, we can add you to the end of the list if you want to add something as a CB resident. Separate from board member. Thanks.
Okay, I did see, I guess he said Joseph is not going to be here. Is Guillermo over? I think you said that you did not see him, Jesse. Okay, Jessica Smith, Stephanie Mercado Altman.
I have Stephanie and I have Bobby up after Stephanie and then.
Oh,
Carla.
great. Okay, Stephanie, the floor is yours for 2 minutes. Can you hear me?
Yep, you are good. Can you hear me?
Thanks, Stephanie. Yes, go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie Mercado Altman. I'm the Manhattan Community Engagement Manager. I'm with New York City Smoke Free Public Health Solutions. Just wanted to connect with your community board tonight just to mention what kind of services we would love to work with you on. So essentially, just to give you background, New York City Smoke Free is a program of public health solutions, and we work to protect the health of New Yorkers through tobacco control policy, advocacy, and education. And we partner with community members, community boards like yourselves, and local legislators really to support the local efforts in ending the devastating tobacco epidemic we have in our city. Our mission is really to increase tobacco-free norms where people live, work, and play. So we really encourage a change at the community level where I essentially help residential buildings go smoke-free through voluntary policy adoptions, and we assist in the end-to-end process with that policy being adopted for any rental buildings, market rate buildings, co-ops, condos, things like that. And also provide free technical assistance and signage and resources as well as necessary to really support in the policy process for that. I know that you also have schools in your neighborhoods. We also have a program called our reality check program for students who are ages 18, from 13 to 18, excuse me, where they become tobacco-free advocates. And this is really a student-led and adult supported program. And it's really an aim to reduce the number of teens that initiate smoking, since we know that vaping is such a big health concern for our youth at the moment. So yeah, just wanted to connect and just put our name out there. You can feel free to visit our website at New York City smokefree.org. But my email is saltman@healthsolutions.org. So yeah, we'd love to get in touch with you and build a partnership.
Stephanie, you did that with 1 second left.
Wow.
Good timing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think you said Bobby. I see Bobby from Chelsea Rec.
Good evening, guys. Thank you again for having me. My name is Bob Evangelatos. I'm the center manager at the Chelsea Recreation Center. Just wanted to talk real quick about a few events coming up. Friday, May 12th, we're hosting Mother's Day Paint Night event at the Recreation Center. And then Friday, May 26th, we're going to have a 3-on-3 teen basketball tournament. If anyone is interested in any of those events, they can just call the rec center and we can give them more information. And finally, the New York City Parks Department between June 5th and June 15th, we're hosting senior games. So it's basically the Olympic Games for adults 50 and over. And there's sports in competition in swimming, track and field, pickleball, table tennis, archery, shuffleboard, basketball, and cornhole. Table tennis is being held at Chelsea. The other sports are being held in other rec centers throughout the 5 boroughs. You can go on the Parks Department website under Senior Games and register and get more information. Or you can also call the center and we can also walk you through any information or registration that you need. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Bobby. And it's a little disturbing that Senior Games is 50 and over, but
You know what I was thinking. I
But
thought
okay.
someone was going to make a comment about that. Sorry,
Okay.
not my call.
I understand. Thanks, Bobby.
All right.
I think we have Carla Fine and Lisa Wager.
Yes.
They here, Jesse.
Yep. Carlos here.
Okay, Carla, go ahead. Can you hear me, Carla?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Go ahead, do 2
Good
minutes.
evening, everyone. I'm a longtime Chelsea resident. I'm a New York City retiree. I'm a long-term union member and union supporter. Community Ward 4 has hundreds and hundreds of New York City retirees who are currently being forced into a privatized healthcare, losing our government Medicare program. We are being forced into this program by our unions, by our mayor, by our city council, and by our electeds. It is so shocking to me that what is considered a progressive city and a progressive electeds have embraced the MAGA Republicans' view of dismantling Medicare and putting us over to a Medicare Advantage, quote unquote, program by Aetna, which is a non-union private for-profit company headed by a hedge fund manager and has been a past insurer of New York slaves, when slaves were in New York, and is basically under federal investigation. The people in this district, in this city, are desperate. I'm a writer. I've written 10 books, many about mental health and suicide. You don't realize how desperate these seniors are. They are losing their traditional Medicare. They're losing their doctors. They're losing their hospitals. They're losing a lot of things. The city council, including our member, has been silent about this. There is something that there can be done. And with all this emphasis on mental health, all I can say is if anyone is listening out there to me and needs help, they should go to the New York City organization retirees, because www.nycretirees.org. I have been receiving extremely desperate correspondence from seniors who will be moved into this plan, and it can be stopped by our electeds. It can be stopped immediately, and yet the city council turns a blind eye. I just want to get that out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carla, very much. Next, we have Lisa Wager.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. Hi, I'm Lisa Wager. I'm the Director of Government Community Relations for the Fashion Institute of Technology, the SUNY College on 27th, June 7th and 8th, with a Res Hall on 31st in the district. 3 things to share tonight. FIT's Future of Fashion BFA Runway Show is happening on Wednesday, May 10th at 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. The attendance is by invitation only, but the 4 p.m. show will be live streamed and it's an astonishing event. The garments created by graduating fashion design students are spectacular, and they're walked down the runway on professional models with a pretty booming soundtrack. The looks that get on the runway have been selected by a panel of industry judges, and the collections run from sportswear to intimate wear and from formal wear to children's clothes. And those models are always especially adorable. To watch it live, go to fitnyc.edu on Wednesday and look for Future of Fashion. It's time again for the graduating student exhibition, which takes over campus to display the works of more than 600 graduating students in 16 areas of study from the School of Art and Design. You'll see juried, award-winning, and thesis projects from packaging design, home products design, jewelry, animation and game design, toy design, footwear and accessories, interior design, photography, fine arts, textile design, illustration, and more. The work reflects the students' experiences in FIT's diverse, challenging, and demanding undergraduate art and design programs and manifests several years of research, experimentation, critical thinking, and artistic proficiency. The exhibition exemplifies FIT's philosophy that integrates practice in industry with theory and teaching inside the studio. It opens Tuesday, May 16th and runs through Sunday, May 28th. What kind of opportunities do you get as a student at SUNY's FIT? How about winning a prestigious contest by a luxury Italian brand, Loro Piano, which comes with a scholarship and an employment contract with the fashion house? That's what happened for FIT students Suman An and Blake DeWitt, who both happen to be from Brooklyn. The contest, oh, just give me 10 seconds. The contest, now in its 7th year, invited teams from 7 global design schools. We're the only American one to develop a creative idea using the Loro Piano yarns. And as part of the contest, the participants, before they even won, got flown to Italy to learn about the entire production process, tour the wool mill, work closely with the R&D team, put their designs into practice. And now they're going to have the opportunity to create their designs and have them displayed in a very important trading yarn event in Florence. And they have jobs, and they've gone to public FIT right down the block. Thank you.
Thank you,
for
Lisa.
that extra little bit of time.
No worries. Thank you, Lisa. Next, Jesse, Alan Firestein. I don't know. I see him, but is he not coming over?
Yeah, Alan, you've declined. If you would like to speak, please just raise your virtual hand and I'll bring you over. But you have to accept when I ask you to come over. But he's declined a couple of times. So I brought over the next speaker, Tiffany.
Okay, I think, you just sent me, does Matt Green, our own Matt Green?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Want to speak first?
Apologies. Yes, Matt Green.
Thank you. So Matt Green here, CB4 member, but speaking as a PS 111 parent. Just want to invite everyone to PS 111 Spring Carnival, which is coming up over 2 days, Friday, May 12th from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then Saturday, May 13th, beginning at 10 a.m., going through to 7 p.m. Everyone's welcome to come. Kids through the 8th grade. There will be giant inflatables, carnival games, food, drinks. All the proceeds go directly to the PS 111 PTA General Fund. It's free admission and it's a ton of fun. If you haven't been before, it's in the play yard at the school, which is at 53rd and 10th Avenue. So you can't miss it. And we hope to see everyone there.
Thanks, Matt. Our next speaker is Tiffany Barrett. Now, I think Tiffany just, there are a lot of people to speak, or listed to speak on this particular topic. But from what I understand, you are speaking for them, unless, and then after I can ask that, I think they want to virtually raise their hand as we can just show our panel, our committee, the support.
Yeah, that would be perfect. I don't know. There might be somebody who wants to speak and I'm not aware of it. But
yeah, I mean, I can say afterwards, if they do want to speak, since they're signed up, they certainly can add to your comments. But I think you asked that, or you guys asked that you can just show support virtually if that's possible.
Yeah, we didn't want to all speak to the same thing and take up too much of your time. So we thought that
we appreciate the consideration.
No problem.
But your 2 minutes starts now.
Okay, great. Save Casalula. Midtown will be all the better for it. Please allow Casalula to reopen and remain. We need these sacred spaces more than ever. Giving the workers of Casalula the opportunity to reclaim this space would constitute not only a favor to the community, but also a venerable act of kindness. Please recognize this outpouring of love and support as something that transcends the norm for a mere wine and cheese bar. Never in my life have I reached out to support something so personally. The permanent loss of Casalula and its cozy, magical little home would be felt not only by me, but by the whole neighborhood that we all love so much. Casalula was a safe space and a gathering spot. The word haven comes to mind in the truest sense of the word. If I may, On a personal level, Casalula has not just been part of my life in New York, but really has helped to define it. It's probably pretty heavy hyperbole on my part to consider that finding another storefront would put you on the right side of history, but for my neighbors and I, it sort of feels that way. Please allow this unicorn to continue to exist. We all need a little magic in our world. Please give Casalula its home back. You can open your new restaurant anywhere. 401 West 52nd Street is where Casalula belongs. These are all quotes from around 40 emails that have been sent to Ted Arenas from the community that are long, thoughtful, heartfelt, beautiful emails. They're asking him to find a new space for his wine bar so that Casalula can reopen in its home of 15 years and be worker owned. Our assembly member has reached out to Ted to ask this. I reached out to Ted personally to request a meeting to discuss a collaboration or our buying him out of the lease, and he declined, saying he had his own vision. The very next day, there was an article that came out in West 42nd Street that said that Ted would be building off of Casalula's legacy and built in following with minor tweaks. Ted did not cause the unjust closing of Casalula Cheese and Wine Cafe, but his proposed business is standing in the way of its ability to reopen in its home of 15 years. His attempt to profit off of Casalula's closing is his right as a business owner, but I believe that it's also his obligation as a community board member to listen to the cries and desires of the community he represents. I understand that this isn't necessarily something that the board can make a decision on, but on a personal level, we would appreciate it if you would encourage Ted to speak with us. We're asking as a community that he speak with us about allowing us to have the space back.
Thank you, Tiffany. That's 2 minutes. I just want to make it clear, this is about a BLP that's on the agenda tonight. Is that right? Just so people know.
Yes.
What we're talking about. Okay. It's an item, agenda item.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess right now, as we discussed, there are people who do support, I believe, support your comments in the attendees section. If they can raise their hands now, just so our members can see that. And if any one of those people, we'll wait till their hands are raised. And then if anyone wants to come on and still speak, you of course can do that. Okay, I'm sure everyone on our board can see the
Yeah, we have
list.
15 hands in.
Yeah. And then if you want to put your hands down, thank you so much. And if anyone wants to move over to speak, you are actually signed up to speak. If anyone feels the need to make further comment, put your hand up now and we can bring you over. I have one Jennifer, but I just don't know if that was.
Yeah, Jennifer, I'm going to take your hand down, and if you want to, oh, there we go. Oh, nope, there you go. If you want to speak, please just re-raise your hand, Jennifer.
Okay, I think her hand might have been up from the, Jody.
Right. I'll bring over Jody.
Sure. Hi, Jody. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, I see you.
I did not get, yes, hi. I did not plan on speaking and I signed up as a non-speak speaker. When you said we could speak on Casalula, I'm going to take my minute and a half.
Okay, you get 2 minutes. I'll start it now.
Right, great. I started going to this wine bar in 2009. I'm a Broadway performer, musician, and the person who introduced me to this place in 2009 changed my life. This place, I've had so many memories. I've brought so many people to this place. And what Tiffany said is correct. There is no other place for that wine bar than in that space on 52nd Street. And I just can't speak highly of it and all the things that are going on. And I just wanted to say it out loud to this panel of people. And I don't usually speak in front of crowds like this either, but I just feel a real passion for this place. And I've brought so many out-of-towners to that place, people who hate cheese and they love cheese there and all the things, the way they do business there, the way Casalula was created. It's something that everybody needs in that community. So I appreciate your time and hearing me. That's it. I'm done.
Thank you, Jody. I think that ends our public session, Jesse and Jeffrey. But I do want to reiterate and thank the people who, we have 2 more hands up.
Okay.
Jesse.
We didn't make our typical announcement that hands needed to go up by a certain time. So we, I guess, are going to proceed with those.
We have one hand left. So let's bring over Pamela.
Pamela.
don't know what happened there. There we go.
Pamela, can you hear me?
Hi.
Oh, hi, Pamela. Go ahead. You have 2 minutes.
I don't know what happened there. I did put in my request to speak at the public session. So here I am. This is a nice piece of cheerful news. You heard a presentation a few months ago from a group that established a block association on 22nd Street between 7th and 8th Avenues. And it was in somewhat of a conflict with the existing block association, the Chelsea West 200 Block Association, which encompasses 4 blocks, including 22nd Street. So in the meantime, we have found a path toward peace in the neighborhood, and we think we've resolved the issues that were involved there. That group has been folded into the larger block association. Its membership becomes our membership. And I've got my fingers crossed, both hands, for a happy ending. That's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. So now here really ends the public session. And I do want to thank all the people who raised their hand in support and saved us the time of repeating their comments. It's very much appreciated, and it's well noted from the committee. Jeffrey, off to you, I guess.
Indeed. Thanks, Leslie. And thanks to all those who signed up to speak this evening. Continuing on in our agenda is the adoption of the agenda, the most recent version of which was circulated earlier today. A few items tabled, a few slight tweaks. Any questions on the agenda?
Move to adopt the agenda.
Thank you, Joe. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Paul. Any objections? The agenda is adopted. On to the minutes. With thanks to Katie and Roberta, any questions on the minutes? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to adopt. Thank you, Joe. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any objections? Great, the minutes are adopted. Now on to reports from our elected officials. Let's see here. I know Yiyi is here to speak for the borough president. Do we have any sitting electeds with us yet this evening? I don't think so.
Yes, we do.
The senator is here.
Yeah,
we will
have
start with Senator Hoylman Siegel, if we can bring him over.
Give me one moment.
Hi, everyone. Good to see
Hello.
you. Hey, Jeffrey. Good to see everyone. That was a really great public session. Casalula is a great restaurant. You know, they historically have paid one fair wage, which is really important to the employees there. It's an effort up in Albany, and really, you know, hopeful that for that location. But and also wanted to let you know that I'm definitely entering the senior games. But wanted to just give you an update on what's been happening in Albany. You can see behind me the new Gilders Center in our Senate district. The American Museum of Natural History is opening tomorrow. They're having an opening tonight. There's a ribbon cutting tomorrow. I can't wait to see the North America's largest collection of leafcutter ants in this building. But it's quite a spectacle. So I'm looking forward to that. But more to the point, which is last night, we passed our $229 billion state budget for fiscal year 2023, 2024. I'm hopeful that this budget is going to, you know, continue our recovery forward after COVID. A few things I wanted to mention, if I could. First is mass transit. There's a $300 million lifeline and one-time funding to the MTA. There's a pilot program for free buses in each borough. There is a new revenue stream for the MTA, and we have a new camera enforcement program, a 5-year camera enforcement program that is going to be important to protect pedestrians and cyclists and others, whether it's in front of bus stops, bus lanes, double parking areas, or no standing zones. In public safety, we have new authority granted to the state to crack down on the proliferation of unlicensed cannabis shops. Thank God, not a moment too soon. In my humble opinion, it's going to allow for administrative searches while protecting, the due process rights of shop owners. It's going to create a new Class A misdemeanor for owners knowingly selling or indirectly selling illegal cannabis under the tax fraud laws and impose significant new civil penalties. So that's going to be a big deal, Jeffrey. We hope this gets underway soon. We have some changes to bail. This is our third pass at trying to get our bail laws acceptable to the wider community. This bail change removes the standard of least restrictive means when determining pretrial release. Under the new standard, judges are going to have to consider the kind and degree of control necessary to ensure a defendant's return to court. There's new money for DAs and public defenders, equal amounts, which is, I think, appropriate. And there's also money for 18B attorneys who haven't gotten a raise in decades. 18B attorneys are private attorneys who represent indigent clients charged with criminal offenses. They need to have lawyers, and these lawyers were not getting paid. So anyone who's a lawyer out there and represents indigent defendants will be pleased. In terms of public education, and I'm not going to go on because there's a lot of detail in my board report, but we did fight back the governor's proposal on resurrecting new charters. There are new 14 zombie charters. That's where we got her. Those are charters that aren't in existence any longer. My conference opposed the charter school expansion tooth and nail, but we ended up with 14. There is record foundation aid. There's new money to cover school meals, $135 million to be exact. In housing, that's one of the biggest disappointments, Jeffrey, and I know you and the board agree. That said, understand that when California passed their extensive housing program, it took at least 5 years. This is year one. So I am redoubling my efforts to support CB4's housing plan, and up in Albany, I'll be working with Assemblymember Simonis and Assemblywoman Rosenthal to get that done. But there is new money for COVID era arrears for NYCHA and Section 8 tenants. They were cut out of that when we passed that 2 years ago. So $390 million to make NYCHA whole and the landlords of Section 8 tenants. There's new homeowner protection programs. Quickly on small business and the arts. Okay, this is it. We have a new musical and theatrical tax credit, not for Broadway, but for off-Broadway. I think that's a really big deal. And we're extending the film tax credit. We're expanding eligibility for the Empire State Tax child care credit. We increased the minimum wage. We have new climate goals that have teeth, including through the New York Power Authority. And we have all electric buildings as a statewide mandate. We have that in the city. Now we're going to have it statewide to beat back climate change. There's a new cap and invest program to implement emissions reduction. In terms of healthcare, there's some good stuff in there, but not enough. But we did increase wages for home care workers, which is so important. And then there's $1 billion dedicated toward mental health, 850 new psychiatric beds. We hope we can use some of that money for Bayview, working hand in hand with CB4. And then finally, we got $7.5 million for the new American LGBTQ plus History Museum here in our Senate district on the Upper West Side. I'm proud of that. So that's my report. A lot more to do in the session. Unfortunately, the session is going to be attenuated because we spent so much time dithering on the budget. But I look forward to passing Sammy's law, getting a safety traffic study for Route 9A, working with you on supportive and affordable housing, and getting rid of that helipad in the Hudson River Park.
Here, I'm glad with so many billions in the budget, there was a lot to say about it. So appreciate the updates and the zoom in from you from the new expansion.
Oh my God. I'm so excited.
I also said about the leaf cutter ants. So I'm here for
right?
It.
It's all about leaf cutter ants. I mean, I can't wait.
Brad, if you can stay for a couple of questions, and I'm going to indulge my colleagues to please keep your questions brief.
Bye.
Leslie?
Hi,
Gail,
thank
can
you.
you-
Sen-
I think Gail needs to go, but,
No, I'm
Oh, Gail.
okay. I'm at the museum too, so go ahead.
oh, okay.
Um,
I'll have,
course you
I'll
are.
have a gin and tonic, Gail. Thank you.
I had
Perfect.
one already. So
Leslie?
I wish I had one now.
Yeah.
I thank you, Senator. And I just want to note, thank you so much for the all-electric building. That is, I don't think people can understand how big, that is a huge, huge, huge step forward. But I did want to ask you, and you mentioned it briefly, about the smoke shops now and
Yeah.
some new, from what I understand, and I could be wrong, just explain, is it only state tax authorities will have authority now to oversee it? So there's really no seizure, anything like that? It's really
Oh,
just,
yeah.
or there
No,
is
no.
seizure?
Their seizure, and it'll be through the, I think we'll be working closely with the DA, NYPD, Office of Cannabis Management, and the state tax office.
Okay, so there's a little more leeway there than I thought. Okay, that would be wonderful.
I sure hope so. You know, Leslie, the devil is always going to be in the details of the language and how these laws, these new laws are enforced. We know that enforcement has always been a problem. It's been my position that NYPD and the mayor could have shut these smoke shops down, as well as the New York State Tax Department 6 months ago. But, you know, at least we've given them new tools to pursue it.
Thank you, Senator.
Charlie?
Thank you, Senator. Thank you for mentioning Sammy's Law, which I know is your bill and that you've long supported and sponsored. I'm curious, I was sad to see that getting taken out of the budget at the last minute. Obviously, we'd love to control our own speed limits here. I'm curious, what do you think the chances are of that passing along with the other package of Safe Streets bills in the session?
I think good. I'm an eternal optimist, though. I don't think any of us would be in public service if we weren't. That said, this is going to depend on getting a home rule message now that it's outside of the budget from the New York City Council. If we pass it through the budget, we didn't need that home rule message. Apparently, some of my colleagues had reservations about doing that without a home rule message. So it's now going to be back to the City Council. We did get a home rule message under the previous speaker, which is why we were able to pass it once through the Senate. I couldn't get the Assembly to play ball that year, but I hope we can get the council resolution and make it happen. If the council gives us the home rule, I think we're in a much better position. I'm not going to say it's 100%, but that is a necessary, if not sufficient, requirement.
Thank you for the update.
Thanks, Charlie, and thanks, Senator. Please have a double in my honor this evening. It's going to be a long night.
Will do.
And appreciate you being here.
Okay, all the best. Bye.
Thanks. Councilor Gail Brewer from
Thank you,
the
but-
same esteemed institution. The floor is yours.
Yes, I'm here having had dinner. Now we're gonna go visit all of the bugs. I would say a couple things. First of all, on smoke shops, we're pleased what happened in Albany. We did take 55th Street and send it to the district attorney because having been out with the DA, having been out with the sheriff, I'm not quite sure how this is all going to work. So we're actually going to send a letter to everybody asking them how they are going to coordinate. Because, you know, basically between the Corporation Council, NYPD, State Cannabis, District Attorney's Office, and I don't know who else, I'm not sure that there's going to be the kind of coordination we need to close these shops down. So just so you know, that's my position. Having been there and watched, it takes all day to go 3 shops if you're going to go item by item. So we'll see how that works. Number 2, I want to thank Congressman Nadler because I had, under the de Blasio administration, been told that the Link 5G cell towers would not be in Board 7 or Board 4. Of course, then I get a call the other day from this mayor office stating, oh no, that was then and this is now. At the same time, the same day, thank goodness for the wonderful member of Congress, because between the National Endowment Environmental Policy Act and the National Historic Preservation Act, oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor, you have to slow down on your antennas. So just so you know, I thought we were no to the 2 community boards because that was what I had reached. Anyway, so now it's all slowed down. Everything's under review. And I want to thank, as usual, the congressman. I want to just I'm very supportive of the Department of Investigation. I support them in their budget. They need more money. I'm working with that in terms of the budget, but they put out 2 reports this week that are excellent. One is on police and overtime today, and it's very interesting. You should really read it. It basically says overtime is not just money, it's also more suits, more health issues, too tired, and it's a bad idea. So it's a very interesting report in addition to the money issue. And they did one on vacancies and shows all the problems that vacancies create. So just the kind of in-depth investigation with details that I think is what government should be doing. We in the Oversight Committee, we just had a hearing on family court. Again, trying to bring all the parties together. We're going to do a task force. I want to thank Brad Hoylman-Siegel because he testified. We're going to work together because family court is a mess and those families need help. We do have a problem with 311. You called 311 about an unlicensed cannabis retailer. Good luck. They tell you to send an email to Albany. You know, people aren't going to do that. So we have a bill to try to change that, make it much easier. And we also have a bill to put somebody on the top of the double-decker sightseeing buses. I know everybody doesn't love the buses, but they do bring tourists. We could have another discussion about them, but they need to have somebody there, not a discussion. ID cards, oh my goodness, nobody can get them. Those, something like, I don't know, 12,000 asylum seekers are looking for ID cards, backlog, etc. So that's another challenge that we're working on in terms of legislation. More documentation should be able to be used so that they can get the cards, and you need somebody home to get them the card. We have a housing clinic coming up. Tomorrow we're doing a youth market at a school at 84th and Amsterdam that has a garden for like 4 days. We're going to be doing farm fresh produce, working with the local restaurants. We're doing Omni for seniors. We're doing an older adult tech clinic, mammography grant van, and of course, lots of screen clinics. It's all in our newsletter, which I'm sure you get. And I want to say the budget. So we are just starting. I think it's not in good shape. The Albany helps in some cases and hurts in others, depending on which agency you're looking at. We had briefing today for 4 hours on the Department of Social Services, Department of Homeless Services, DYCD, and the cuts are massive. So we have a lot of work ahead of us to make sure that these cuts are not instituted. Thank you very, very much, Board 4.
Thank you, Gail. If you have time for a question, Christine.
Yes, thank you, Gail, for all your work. Just wanted to mention my, recently I signed up for Omni on my iPhone, and it took 3 phone calls to make it work. I have another friend on the board, it took them 4 phone calls. So whatever are the,
thank you.
And the steps, it's not really working. I mean, when it works, it works, but getting there is really, really complicated.
Thank you very much. I will follow up. Thank you.
Thanks, Gail. Enjoy the bugs. We'll see them soon. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Up next, just a flag, we have reports from all of our elected officials that are on this month's list, so everybody knows. Staff up next. Yiyi from Borough President Mark Levine's office is with us this evening.
Hi, everybody. I think the whole world is in Natural History Museum, and Mark is going to be there like in 10 minutes. So they're going to have a party over there. Okay, I'm just going to go straight to my reports. I know that some of you have been waiting for our announcement for the community board appointments. We are currently completing the meetings with elected officials, council members. We have a couple to go, so we're expecting to have our announcement probably next week, hopefully. So for those who did not reapply, please be a little patient because we just have a week to go, and we're just gonna have to, you just have to wait until those spots are filled. So please stay with us a little bit longer. And our next thing is a couple weeks ago in our April Manhattan Borough Board, we unanimously passed a resolution in favor of planting 1 million trees by the year of 2030. And thank you, MCB4, for supporting this. And the next is a good news for Matt, I think. we have a new website, and you can just go onto our website to see and to post your events onto our website so that more people can get an idea like what's going on throughout the borough of Manhattan and what the borough president is doing all this time. So if you go onto our website, and it is very easy to navigate, and it has a special feature where we can just just go to the heading and hit resources and then click events, and then where we can not only can see the upcoming events, but you can just post your community events. So if you have any questions regarding this function, you can just shoot me an email or just call me, text me. I'll try to answer your questions. I think that'll be it. I don't want to take too much of your time. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take.
Appreciate that report, Yi, and your succinct points, and we'll stay tuned for updates on appointees. Thank you. Up next on the list, from Congressman Dan Goldman's office, Tevin Williams. Tevin?
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. And it's nice to be here at my first community board meeting with CB4. So we do have a nice little cutout of CB4 all the way up to about 16th and 17th Street. And then we also cover a little bit on the west side, and it's nice to be here. So good evening, everyone. My name is Tevin Williams. I am the Director of Community and External Affairs for Congressman Dan Goldman. So some of you are some of our constituents, so I would just like to introduce myself. I am the lead for the Manhattan office down at 290 Broadway at the Ted Weiss Federal Building. And I just want to give a quick couple of updates on our end for everyone here. So the biggest thing I would like to say is it is passport season. Everyone is starting to travel. If you have any issues with your passport or need to renew it, please reach out to us. We are more than happy to try and get you an appointment. We do need a travel itinerary and a privacy release form to help you. On top of that, we've been fighting every day in Congress to ensure that we provide for all the people in our district. And we are so excited to be representing you as the newest member of the New York delegation, the newest Democratic member of the New York delegation here in New York City. Please reach out to our office if you need anything. Again, thank you, Jeffrey, Jesse, and the CB4 team and all of CB4. And we look forward to working with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tevin. I appreciate that. And I'm happy to hear it's travel season. Next up on the list from Senator Liz Krueger, State Senator Liz Krueger's office, is Dana with us. I didn't see her.
She's here.
I'm here.
Hi, Dana.
Hi, how are you? Hi, everyone.
Great. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me this week. So Senator Hoylman Siegel gave a great update of the budget, so I'm not going to repeat anything that he mentioned, but I'll just add information about one additional piece of legislation that's in the budget, and then two pieces of legislation outside the budget that recently passed in the Senate that Senator Krueger is working on. So first, in the budget, they allocated $100.7 million towards abortion protections. So this will go to fund abortion providers, expand access to abortion care for SUNY and CUNY students, allocated funds to over-the-counter contraception, and also protects the data of people seeking reproductive care. And then outside the budget related to that, Senator Krueger had a press conference on April 13th for Bill S1066A, which supports access or abortion access for those living in and outside of New York. And it would provide explicit protections for doctors, medical providers, and facilitators who are serving patients seeking abortion and reproductive health services via telehealth, and also protect doctors who are prescribing and mailing abortion pills. And it already passed in the Senate. We really need it to pass in the Assembly. This is a very important piece of legislation that hopefully could get past this session. And then another bill that Senator Krueger is working on is the New York Tropical Deforestation and Free Procurement Act. It just passed in the Senate on April 25th. And this would close loopholes on a 30-year-old ban on the use of tropical hardwoods by state agencies and municipalities. And it would also make sure that state contractors who are using tropical forest commodities to certify that they are not driving deforestation. Approximately every year, we lose 18 million acres of forest, which is about half the size of New York State. So this bill is really important and kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of the other climate protections that were passed in the state budget. And then we also have an ongoing roundtable series. We have the 5th event coming up, held on May 11th from 10 to 11:30. And this one is all about how to advocate and organize for older adult housing. So the Director of Public Policy from Live On will be there, the Executive Director of the New York Housing Conference, and Associate State Director of the New York State AARP. And also, if you have any questions about any legislation that was passed in the state budget, feel free to call our district or Albany office.
Thanks, Dana. Appreciate the updates. Next up, from Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal's office, Erica Overton. Erica?
Hey everyone, Erica Overton, Chief of Staff to Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal. A few updates. Yes, the state approved a $229 billion budget early this morning. A lot to unpack there and discuss, but I do want to highlight 2 of the Assembly members' bills protecting the privacy of anyone seeking an abortion in New York State that was included in the budget. The first bill, now law, bans companies from using a geofence around health and abortion clinics, meaning they cannot send targeted ads or messages to people in that area. Most of the time, the messages and ads that are being sent to people at abortion clinics are urging them to seek alternatives to abortion. Probably not what you want to hear in the most vulnerable time of your life. So it's important, whether you're in New York or someone traveling here live in New York, or someone traveling here, that your data is not weaponized against you for seeking reproductive care. The other bill prevents New York-based companies and organizations from providing law enforcement with an individual's data or personal information during an abortion-related investigation. It's not a hypothetical. It's happened in Nebraska. Meta handed over many messages between a young girl and her mother about medication abortion, and her mother was charged with 2 felonies. So as people travel here for surgical abortions, especially depending on what happens at the 5th Circuit, New York is obviously a safe harbor and needs to continue protecting the privacy of people who are seeking care here. The Assembly member also introduced a bill limiting the purchase of 1 firearm to every 30 days, essentially preventing people from buying multiple guns at the same time. The data is clear on this. A firearm is 64% more likely to be used in a crime if it was purchased in a sale with multiple firearms. Those firearms are usually find their way on the black market, so this bill would crack down on that practice. Almost done, but the Assembly member wrote a letter to EDC now that they've reopened their RFP process for Pier 6, requesting that they use this opportunity to find another use for this site since they sacked the Sacker Aviation Group and move away from helicopters at this location. EDC responded, said they're currently reviewing the request, so I'll keep everyone updated on what happens there. And then last but finally not least, the Assembly member is hosting another Shred Day. I get calls about Shred Day all day long, so very exciting. It's happening on May 21st from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. outside of her district office on 72nd Street. So if you have any papers you need to dispose of safely, you can come then. But thank you guys. Have a great night.
Thanks, Erica. Appreciate those updates, and good luck on Shred Day. Ever popular. Up next, from District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office, Eric Straza. Eric, are you with us this evening? I thought I saw him here. While we're waiting for Eric, I know
he's still in the attendee section. I'll bring him over.
Okay, why don't we go to, we have Curtis Young from the Public Advocate's office. Curtis?
Good evening, CB4. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Curtis Young, the Manhattan Borough Advocate in the office of Jamani Williams. The Public Advocate recently traveled to Capitol Hill to advocate for additional federal resources to address the long-term failures of our immigration infrastructure. You can join that call to action by contacting your elected officials yourself at the federal level, and also by visiting our blog to hear a list of those demands that he shared with our federal elected officials. As far as New York City legislation, several bills were passed this past week. First was our Homeless Bill of Rights legislation, which codified the rights of homeless individuals both outside of and within the city shelter system, as well as standards required to be met within the shelters. The second bill that we're really proud of is our Street Safety Bill, which requires the DOT to expedite studies of traffic crashes involving pedestrian fatalities or serious injuries every 4 years, and to make reports available on location with 4 or more such incidents. We have a few upcoming events. We're excited to announce our State of the People address that will be happening between May 15th and May 18th. There are several State of the People addresses we're having, so stay tuned for that. You can visit our website to learn more, or you can text hello to 833-933-1NYC to learn the exact date for whatever issue you are interested in. And also, we're also excited to share that we have a new series called Ask the Advocate on News 12. You can tune in to News 12 Bronx and Brooklyn, or online to watch monthly segments where you can pose questions to the public advocate. And last but not least, please subscribe, like our blog to hear directly from our staff and our public advocate on other issues. That concludes my report. I look forward to seeing you all next month.
Thanks, Curtis. Appreciate the updates.
Thank you.
Eric from the DA's office. Is he over, Jesse?
He is.
Okay.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Hey,
Thanks so much, everyone. Sorry about that. Jesse did try to bring me over. I was having some technical difficulties, but have a few updates from our office, the district attorney's office. And once again, my name is Eric Straza, your community coordinator. First thing I wanted to mention was something that we announced over the course of the last month, although Jeffrey actually mentioned it as it relates to some arrests that took place at the last meeting. And this is specifically relates to our indictment in a series of fatal nightclub overdoses, a series of robbing individuals outside of bars and nightclubs. And ultimately, these 2 of these incidents led to the tragic deaths of Julio Ramirez and John Umberger. So I just wanted to mention it and put it into the discussion, because I think we include a little bit more information in the full press release that's on our website. We go into the charges on 5 of the individuals that we indicted, 3 of whom are charged for murder in the 2nd degree related to those 2 incidences that I just mentioned. And then all of them are charged with robbery in the 1st degree and conspiracy in the 4th degree. If anyone wants to learn more, again, we have a full press release on that in our office. And I think that this is just a really important step to making nightlife safer for all New Yorkers. So definitely some good news there. One other thing that I wanted to mention was that the DA recently announced a significant funding opportunity that will take place over this summer for youth gun violence prevention. It's basically for up to 10 community-based organizations to receive $20,000 to pay young New Yorkers stipends to participate in meaningful programming, or to enhance or make more beautiful public spaces that are known areas for gun violence. And with this, we're specifically looking to award it to community-based organizations who employ people with lived experiences and people who have been personally impacted by gun violence. So the CB4 area and the neighborhoods within it are not predefined as areas that would receive that funding, but I think it's important to note, first off, I think that that's a good thing, because the problem as it relates to the problem of gun violence as it relates to CB4 does not necessarily reach the degree or scale that we're looking to address with this funding opportunity. But that being said, I think that gun violence is something that affects all New Yorkers, and especially New Yorkers and community members that are close to the Midtown area and in the CB4 area, where you're so close to its transit hubs, and with Port Authority, Penn Station, and just a more transient population or group of individuals. I think that this opportunity will make an impact in the area as well. Last thing that I wanted to mention is that we are still doing work to proactively address public safety and quality of life crimes. Specifically, we know that shoplifting and retail theft is a big issue in the CB4 area, particularly in Midtown North. So we are reworking and basically looking to revitalize our Small Business Alliance, part of which will be hopefully coming up with a better name, because we're not just speaking to small businesses, we're speaking to larger businesses and corporations as well. But if you all remember, I spoke a little bit about this last year. we convened a series of meetings where we spoke to local business owners, tried to understand basically what they're seeing and experiencing as it relates to shoplifting, trying to brainstorm solutions. And after that, we actually came out with a 5-point plan that we've been utilizing since then, but it's always important to keep updated on the issue, make sure we know what everyone in the area is experiencing. So looking forward to revamping that soon. The last thing I want to mention, I know that I've actually said that multiple times, but it's something that came up earlier when Captain Gault gave his report. He spoke a little bit about violence amongst students and particularly in schools. And I know that James Baldwin High School was mentioned. I just wanted to say that the board or anyone else is aware of specific schools that we can try to target and address using our resources. We have a great education team that can go out and speak to kids and students. That would be great. So just feel free to shoot me an email or contact me if you have any more information that we could use on that. That's it. Again, I'll pass it back to Jeffrey, but happy to answer any questions or clarify anything that I spoke about today. Thanks so much, everyone. Appreciate it.
Eric, thank you for the update. Appreciate the 2 last points that you had to make, and all of them. That concludes the reports from our elected officials, and with thanks from our friend Robin Forst at the Mayor's Community Affairs Office for passing on a report this evening so we can get on to business. So thank you, Robin. We'll hear from you next month. I want to pass it over to Jesse now for the District Manager's report.
Good evening, everybody. Jesse Bodine, District Manager for Community Board 4. Excuse the sirens behind me if you hear them. So I'll try to be as brief as possible. So very quickly, as Jeffrey mentioned, in-person meetings continue on due to the mayor's executive order that will go into May. And we'll stay 100% virtual until that executive order is not continued on. So for May committee schedules, things to highlight. So this is the first month of the new date for the Housing, Health and Human Services Committee, which will be meeting tomorrow on May 4th. In addition, there's some additional new the working groups and task force. The MCB4 12 FAR working group will be meeting on May 10th and May 18th at 4 p.m. Those will be public meetings where people can attend and will be streamed and recorded as well. The bylaws task force meeting will be on Monday, May 15th at 4 p.m. And then there will be a special joint land use committee meeting on Monday, May 15th at 6:30 p.m. where Department of City Planning will be presenting on their citywide text amendment on the City of Yes, then their carbon neutrality application. Sorry, I'm scrolling. All other May committees are meeting at their regular scheduled time. So very quickly on office space update. MCB4 is very used to reviewing ULURPs. We are actually currently in our own ULURP. We gave testimony to the City Planning Commission last month, and we are in the review period now. And hopefully that will get approved and move forward. And by the end of next year, we'll be in our new location at 630 9th Avenue. And then finally, I just wanted to remind the board members that we are still looking for volunteers to table street fairs for this summer. A number of you have already responded. I will respond to you guys shortly with a list of upcoming fairs that you guys can select. But if you are interested and you have not, let me know. Please email me and I can add you to the list. And I think that's it.
Thanks, Jesse. And just to note, it was a ULURP presentation that was short and straightforward and very simple, something else that CB4 is very much not used to. So looking forward to success there. Report from the chair, just following up on a couple of other things. The task forces and working group updates. Jesse mentioned the FAR working group. Work is ongoing. And I just want to remind folks that working group is a direct reaction to board members and members of the public asking for more information. I would very much encourage all members of the board and any member of the public interested in this, watching past meetings on the topic. They're all on our YouTube channel and easily accessible. And we've had some great presentations and really appreciate those who have participated in this group thus far. The bylaws task force, that work is also ongoing. I'm pleased to report that hopefully our cadence of communication has resumed with the Port Authority as it relates to the Port Authority bus terminal replacement project. We met with them recently and have a meeting on the books for 2 weeks from now, and hopefully that will continue to be the case. So stay tuned for more concrete updates regarding the bus terminal. The NYU Capstone group presented to the executive committee, and they'll be providing a final report to the board next week as that work wraps up. Jessica's not here tonight, but I want to give her a shout out and thanks for chairing and overseeing all the work on that group of this team, as well as everybody who participated in that, members of the public, members of the board. I'm thankful and appreciate the work that everybody did there. So other points of interest, MCB4 provided testimony at the Landmarks Preservation Commission regarding 128 West 17th Street, the former colored school number 4, on April 25th. Again, a really exciting moment for our advocacy in that, and with thanks to Kerry and Jessica and Chelsea Land Use for really driving that issue. We co-sponsored with CB5 on April 24th, a panel and forum regarding the future of Penn Station. On that note, we also had a very preliminary and advanced brief, a very preliminary and high-level overview briefing with ASTM regarding their ideas for Penn Station. So looking forward to keeping the Penn Station conversation going, especially with the budget behind us. Hopefully we can get some focus on some significant infrastructure and a change to how they're looked at. We also co-sponsored a mental health forum with Community Boards 2 and 5 on April 27th, with thanks to Maria for spearheading that. You'll hear more on that later, but thank you to her and HHHS for the work on that. A couple of other bits, as many are aware, there was a shooting on 9th Avenue between West 45th and 46th Street. No fatalities, and I want to report, because this wasn't reported out today, that I saw that the perpetrator has been caught and is now in federal custody due to outstanding federal warrants. So that happened a couple of days ago with a quick reaction from law enforcement. So wanted to share that this evening. I also want to note there was a fire at 412 West 46th Street, a building we have been involved with for a very, very long time. Some of you may recall the address, 412 West 46th Street. Terrible living conditions, now a fire, with thanks to our elected officials for swiftly acting on this along with the board. We advocated to HPD to properly seal and maintain the buildings through its emergency repair program while the 7A proceedings take place. Our immediate concern, of course, is for safety and quality of life for the residents at 412 and by extension 410, because both of those buildings are in such horrible disrepair. So hopefully we can provide better updates on that in the future. And then finally, a topic you know well, Pier 94. I want to thank Councilmember Eric Botcher for swiftly convening a meeting with the president of EDC that Jesse and I were able to attend along with all of our other elected official reps. We are now in a 30-day review period for the official lease, which has been released. However, that lease, which is public, can only be reviewed in person on Liberty Street in the depths of Lower Manhattan. I think this is an atrocity and an abomination to anything we call transparency in government. And for our state elected officials that are listening, please pass a bill to make it law that any public lease eligible for review is to be posted online. So we are attempting to make appointments to review the lease, which is only allowed during certain hours of the day at certain times. So note that you will be likely voting on a letter later this month at exec to be ratified by the full board, because comments are due before our full board in June. I don't think the tenor of our comments will change, but ensuring that we're on the record every step of the way here is very important.
Ask the mayor to include it in his executive order.
Actually, that's a very good point, Joe, if we roll that in. So that is it on reports from me, and that's a good thing. So that way we can dive into the business portion of our meeting this evening. Up first on the docket, BLP. Over to Frank and Bert, please.
Okay, everyone. As you can see on our agenda, we have 11 items from BLP. I'd like to just comment on 2 of them. Item 11, which caused a lot of controversy at the BLP session, a lot of discussion, a lot of conversation, a lot of opinions and perspectives. We worked it through, and we have 5 different stipulations we included. One of the stipulations is change of hours. It's not the hours you see on the front, if you read the front of the application. We changed the hours. We also made sure that there'll be a DJ only on the first floor, because this is a 3-story building, adjacent to residences. And we asked for an acoustical report before this meeting, because the acoustical report they submitted was old, and they did, and it was a good report. And they, whatever recommendations the report will have, they will implement it. And those are the major items that we stipulated. No dancing. We also specified no dancing. This has been I see you're smiling, Jesse. I'm not sure about what.
It's still, every time you say it, it still sounds like the footloose of rules. Sorry, I know it's real. Sorry.
Okay. This is a space that we've had many problems with. So we wanted to put as many stipulations on the new applicants as possible. The new applicants are not fly-by-nights. They have 2 other venues in Hell's Kitchen. No complaints. No complaints. So our fingers are crossed. And we voted to, well, deny unless the stipulations are agreed to. And of course, they agree to the stipulations. Just one comment on item number 3. And the sense of our committee was that we had heard some of the former staff people from the former establishment in that site. And we sympathize with their concerns. And it was not before the committee. That's all I could say. What was before the committee and what our direction is and directive is, we have an application and we approve or disapprove, write stipulations on the application as the law demands. So if there's any questions, okay. If
Thank you,
not,
Bert. I see,
I would use the old expression, bundle it.
Perfect. Thank you for that. If we can, I'll go to Chris first with a question. Chris?
Yeah, for item 11, what are the other 2 properties, and what is the property titled currently at that location? And I'll follow up on item 3 afterwards.
Okay, in my head, I have at least one of the 2. Dutch Fred's is one of the current.
Okay, so this is the former Latitude. Correct?
Former.
No, Latitude.
No.
No. Dutch Fred's is asking for an extension, or is it?
No, this is
on
not
8th
Dutch
Avenue?
Fred's. You asked me what are the other venues that they own?
Yes, and I'm asking,
them
and
is
then
Dutch
I said, okay.
Okay.
Now the location that I'm asking about is between 47th and 48th on 8th Avenue.
On 8th
It's
Avenue.
formerly Latitude. Is that correct?
Thought it was
It was most recently the Q.
Okay. Got you. And on the 47th Street, 48th Street Block Association, the Q has had noise issues with the residents around the corner for some time. Has the ownership changed at all? Has management changed at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
This is completely different people.
Completely different, and the original owner of the Q has no financial tie to this location.
As far as we know, we don't see unless you know something that you're asking a question that maybe you have the answer to.
No, I don't actually.
Okay,
I only
Okay,
ask
because
because
sometimes
the
people
last
ask
time-
questions that they have the answer to, but they're just
No.
asking.
I'm not going to give
Okay.
you Columbo in this situation.
Okay, no.
I just want to make sure that we've done our due diligence.
Let me say this, Chris. When they did the acoustical report, we specifically asked them to include in the report and the actual apparatus, however they do it, adjacent apartments of residences. So they tested, I think the report we
And
got,
did they reach out to Pete Diaz?
Pete Diaz is the center.
Okay. Could I ask how, because Pete has been very vocal about.
That's
Q's
why we reached out to
noncompliance.
Pete and included him with all the conversations with the owners and the acoustical reports. He was very much involved.
Thank you very much for that. Now, item 3, what's the location there? Could you give me the cross streets and the former?
52nd Street. It's also, you can see it right down there. It says 781 9th Avenue, also known as 401 52nd Street.
Okay. What was the name of the former bar restaurant there?
I think what we heard tonight was it's Casa Nueva?
Casa
Luna.
Luna.
Casa
It was a
Luna.
wine and cheese bar for about 15
Okay,
years.
thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Those are the people that, well, I think we had 15 people.
No, I just had bad reception, so I've been in and out 3 times now. So I appreciate you giving me
sorry about
clarification
that,
on
Chris.
3 and 11. So long as Pete Diaz has been involved, I will be voting yes on it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Ted?
Press the wrong button. Okay, hey guys. For full disclosure, I'm Ted and I'm the applicant and community board member for Red Stache. I just wanted to make it clear to the board that I am very sympathetic to the employees that might have got wrongfully terminated from Casa Lula. There seems to be some litigation going on that I'm not a part of. Someone spoke earlier on open session and said that I was not willing to take a meeting, but I was in conversation through email. And what was said was that they wanted to come in and run my company and then have me buy me out. And I told them that I wish that they could win their litigation and maybe the rights to the name Casa Lula and move forward to open it in another venue. And that I didn't really want to be a part of this type of drama because it doesn't concern me. And I was told that they have press and stuff that they would try to work against me. And that unfortunately I was going to be a part of them closing. So it's not that I wasn't listening and, I was, open to the idea and I heard people message me and saying how much they love Casa Lula. And I'm not saying that that's not a great operation and that can't be open, but after conversations with the landlord and after they had some difficulty with the last tenant and some of the harassment that I'm seeing to be getting, the landlord does not have any interest in renting out to them as tenants. So I think that might be rough for people listening to hear tonight. That hopes that Casa Lula will be able to open that in that space, but whether it's me there or not, the landlord is just not going to allow Casa Lula to reopen in that space. So I do wish the staff well, and I hope that they win their litigation to get the Casa Lula name from the former tenant. But as of right now, I don't, seeing that being a feasible option. And that's why I'm coming in there as a new tenant.
Thank you, Ted. Appreciate that. And so just to confirm, you would be voting present, not eligible on item 3 also this evening.
Yes, correct.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Bert. Thank you, Frank. Thank you to the committee. Moving on in our agenda to Christine and Dale with transportation planning, please.
Hi, everyone. We have, 5 letters tonight. Number 12 is a letter to DCAS about the municipal fleet electrification. Number 13 is a revocable consent letter about the Highline connector. Number 14 is about speeding conditions along 24th Street that was brought to our attention by residents. Number 15 is a letter to the DOT and the Port Authority about traffic conditions around the Lincoln Tunnel. And number 16 is about the reinstallation of a much-used city bike rack along West 22nd Street. Are there any questions on these letters?
Bert?
Yeah, question came to mind on the bike rack, the bike rental space on 22nd Street. Because there
Yeah.
is one on 10th Avenue and 22nd, which doubled in size. Now, I don't know if that was a reaction to the closure of 22nd and 11th or something they were thinking in addition to. Do you have any sense that there is a need since they doubled the other bike rental spot?
Well, it's true that this rack was removed for some construction, but we could, perhaps we could, City Bike has a lot of data on demand and usage, and perhaps we could, couch the request in, a request for City Bike to look at the specific data to this area and see if it's merited.
That would be good, Dale. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Bert. Marty?
I have a question and maybe a comment on 12 and a question on 16. In 12, roundabout lines 86, you reiterate your adamant stance that there will be no chargers on sidewalks and this letter doesn't have any qualifications on that. I'm continually wondering if some good suggestions came up for chargers around in our neighborhood, like on lampposts or on the link facilities, whether your committee would continue to hold the position of an absolute no on sidewalks. I think the language should be softened and indicate that if a good idea came up, you might be more receptive. In the previous letter, there was some language like with exceptions. That's my comment on number 12. And I think this is a little bit what Bert said on 16. Line 32 talks about great benefit to bike users, but I don't know if you have any data, do you?
Well, again, City Bike does collect a lot of data on usage, and we could couch the request as I suggested with Bert's question in their data collection records to see if it would in fact benefit area cyclists. And as for 12, this letter really reflects the consensus of our joint meeting. So it's the letter that it's the language that was agreed upon at the meeting. Christine, did you want to weigh in? You have to, yeah.
You said you're asking if I want to weigh in on that?
No, I was calling on the next, Dale, I'll take this. I was calling on the next speaker, Marty, for Christine's hand up, or it's down? It's down now. Chris LeBron?
Sorry, this is still about 11 in terms of their operating hours.
Sure. Oh,
and
right.
I apologize. Is it okay that I still talk about item 11?
I guess the floor is now yours, even though we moved on to transportation. So if you could make it quick, that would be great.
I apologize. No, I was looking at the operating hours and I saw that there wasn't a break in the operating hours from the previous owner to the new operator. Is there any chance at all, Bert, and I apologize, Dale, so much, is there any opportunity that we can spin item 11 off so that we can talk about an earlier close to 2 a.m.?
That sounds like a committee discussion.
Yeah, Chris, I'm pretty sure that location has been licensed till 4 a.m. for probably the past 3 or 4 operators. It has been a
as
bar
social
forever.
and then as Q, Frank, but the operations for Q was different from social. And so
we had, as far as we know, we had no major complaints about social.
Right.
The
But we did have
operating
complaints
as
about Q.
Chris, I don't know if you saw that we have a stipulation that it's 2 a.m. days of the week, 4 a.m. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Not the 4 a.m. that it's shown on the front.
Right. But still to that point, Q has been a headache for the 47th Street, 48th Street Block Association. Dale, I apologize. I see you're unmuted. I apologize. But for the full operation of Q, there have been complaints of sidewalk ingress, egress, access for pedestrians, as well as sound. And so regardless of the last 3 or 4 operators over the last 4 years, that specific location has been a bit of a problem. And I would like to see the new operators deal with those issues that were previously addressed.
Chris,
By,
one of the stipulations that they agreed to, that we requested, a staff member will be specifically assigned to prevent congregation on the adjoining sidewalks.
Bert, we have the highest concentration of rising crime here in this area.
You know, we're really
No,
we're
no, no, no,
skewing
excuse
back
me,
to
excuse me, Chair, Chair.
segment of the meeting
No.
we had moved on from. The
No,
committee,
I'm still asking for consideration that the letter for Thursday through Sunday say a closure at 2 a.m., not 4 a.m. And that's because over almost half a decade now, Q has been operating and had a problem with a lot of quality of life issues, regardless of sound control. And so what I'm asking is that we see as a community,
thank
whether
you,
or not
Chris.
this new
Do the
operator,
co-chairs consider that?
operator,
Chris, I'll take it from here. Do the co-chairs consider that to be friendly to the letter?
it's just
One
a
of the
friendly
co-chairs
amendment,
doesn't consider
temporary.
that friendly.
Thank you. Okay,
We
so
got an agreement
since
with
it's
Well, then
not
that's
friendly,
unfortunately I cannot vote yes on the bundle.
okay, thank you. Alan, back to transportation. You're on mute.
Thank you. Do you
Alan
want to go
is
to
the
Jesse
offer.
first?
Yeah.
Hello?
I mean, yeah, no, I think it's resolved. I mean, however, it just resolved itself. It resolved itself, but that's fine. I was trying
By
to.
the way, Alan was the person who wrote the letter about the bike rack. So yeah, he might have some.
So just 2 quick comments. The bike rack.
Residence factor.
I'm sorry, the bike rack was removed, I believe, prior to the extension on the 22nd Street, primarily for the construction of the Cortland by Related on that same corner. But more importantly, DOT came to transportation about 1.5 years ago, requesting suggestions from us, from transportation, because of the lack of bike racks along the highway serving Chelsea Waterside Park. So that's why basically they're requesting the rack to be reinstalled.
Thanks for that, Alan.
Yeah, thank you, Alan.
And thanks to Dale, Christine, and the committee for those letters. Moving on to ACES. Alan, you'll stay on the floor. Alan and Kit, please, for ACES.
Okay. Basically, the one letter we have tonight is 18. I want to thank Tamara for drafting this, and a special thanks to the library system that has stepped up to offer a ton of services to the asylum seekers that are in the HERC hotels in our district, basically.
Any questions on ACES? Great, thank you, Alan, Kit, and the committee. Moving on to Housing, Health, and Human Services, Joe and Maria.
That's you.
Right
The first item, I think it's the right to counsel.
Yes.
Yes.
Katie is going to be speaking on that letter. Yep. Thank you, Katie.
Yep. Hey, everyone. So in this letter, we are doing a couple of things. We heard a presentation at our last HHHS meeting that while there is a law in New York City that allows tenants to have a right to counsel when brought before housing court, that there aren't enough lawyers basically available, and that because the courts now are really sort of trying to bring a lot of these cases forward, there are people who are being brought before the judges and they don't yet have counsel. So we're asking to, this letter is supporting a legislation presented by Senator Boyleman Siegel, saying that judges should adjourn trials or cases if the tenant hasn't yet been able to obtain a lawyer, as long as they have been trying to obtain a lawyer. So that's number one.
As long as they haven't been appointed a lawyer through the system.
Right. They haven't been able to get it yet, but they've been trying. And then also we're just thanking Alex Young from Right to Counsel New York City for speaking to us. And number three, we are supporting the adoption of a statewide right to counsel, because right now the right to counsel is only citywide, and the Right to Counsel NYC Coalition is supporting this statewide adoption and saying that if it is adopted around the state, it will also further strengthen the New York City position. So those are the three things in a letter. Sorry if I didn't explain that well.
Thanks, Katie. We've been talking about right to counsel on this board for a while, so glad to see another letter on the topic coming out about it. JD?
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Katie. I just want to suggest a friendly amendment addition to the letter if possible. It would be under strengthening tenant protections, that paragraph. The very last sentence says, housing court cases should be adjourned until low-income tenants secure legal representation, as long as the tenants are making a good faith effort to obtain legal representation. I would like to add, and as long as there is no immediate health or life-threatening danger to the tenant or other tenants that such a delay would cause or worsen. So I would like to offer that to protect the tenants and also people in the building. If a tenant, if a delay is going to harm that tenant or other people in the building. Or whatever words you want to use.
I think some version of that sounds reasonable. We just have to maybe, Katie, you could work on wordsmithing something on that to sort of shorten a little bit so it's clear that it's about hazard to life and safety, which is always any kind of consideration happening in a legal action.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me see what I can do with that. I will say I'm a little dumped thinking about it, just because. So is the judge supposed to ask to hear somebody come forward and talk about that before he makes his decision? Anyway, I'm just not sure procedurally how that would work, but we can figure it out.
That is normally how it happens, that there'd be another party involved in this saying, yes, Your Honor, but. So pretty much standard part of housing court.
All right, but not usually in an adjudication. All right.
I think
you see what we can do, but
the key here is to make sure our recommendation doesn't swing the other direction, and that it lends a further layer of protection to the tenant in the interest of what JD said, life and safety. And so happy to be a part of the wordsmithing if you guys need an extra eye on that too.
And Katie, mostly that would happen in a conference setting, not really adjudication. It's just conferencing back and forth when that would be discussed.
Okay, we will see what we can do about the language. Yep, but I hear you, JD.
Thanks, JD. And thanks, Katie. And the ratification letter, Joe?
Yes, 435 West 48th Street, another possible demolition in our district. This is the 13th site in 5 years we've dealt with here. And in this case, the entire facade of the building was removed. And the owner, as we got into this more deeply, there's a stop work order on the building for bringing debris out with a chute without proper permits. That stop work order was rescinded. However, as we looked into this more deeply, the owner actually filed for demolition in this building in 2019. They were denied. They came back and they filed for a series of alterations. They have amended the plans 10 times. And it seems to those of us having worked in this for a while, this is a tactic and a strategy that you can file 12 different amendments to a plan and eventually have a demolition. Just so everyone knows, this owner has filed new foundations for renovation. That's never done. And filed new structural columns for renovation. That's never done. So we're asking DOB to stop the work and do an immediate audit until they determine exactly what's going on at this location. Thanks.
Thanks, Joe. Any questions on this letter? This is a ratification because this came out of exec, and we wanted to push this forward as quickly and as swiftly as possible, given sort of a level of ambiguity from DOB, an agency only recently appointed with a new commissioner. So wanted to be timely on this.
You're a wonderful ambassador, Jeffrey. A level of ambiguity. That's I can understand.
Okay, thank you, Joe, Maria, and Housing, Health, and Human Services. Sticking on that topic, we have a new business letter item this evening. This comes out of the work that Maria has been doing with community boards 2 and 5 on mental health issues. At our executive committee meeting, Maria provided a summary and an update on the process of that work, and exec voted to recommend that we take up this new business item after the forum that was held last Thursday. So Maria is here to present on this new business letter. Maria?
Thanks, Jeffrey. So let me just give a little background if you're new to the community board or aren't aware that this event that we did last Thursday on the 27th, a mental health public conversation or a mental health forum, whatever you prefer to call it, it is the second one that I think is probably going to be a series. We did our first one in October of 2021. And it was CB4 and 5. CB5 is adjacent to CB4. So the Times Square area, I think they have Union Square also. We basically at that time, the first one was about the services and the gaps that exist in mental health services. And the 3 main things that kept coming up at that time, there were a lot of things that kept coming up, but at that time, back in 2021, it was treatment capacity, which is noted in the letter. I forgot the other 2 right now. Treatment capacity, I think the number of beds, and I can't recall right now, but it is in the letter if you read the letter. For this event, this letter, the event was hosted by CB's 4, 5, and 2. 2 is the West Village, and it was supported by community boards 1, 3, and 6. So that is all the community boards below 59th Street. We had 4 speakers. The speakers were Dr. Ellen Tabor, she's the Associate Chief Medical Officer at ICL, Dr. Van Yu, Chief Medical Officer for CUCS, and 2 frontline workers, nurse practitioner and a social worker for cases. And so we really, what we were looking for was people with a lot of practical knowledge who work with on a regular daily basis, people who are suffering from serious mental illness. The letter is going to be to local, city, and state elected officials, all of whom were present at the event and spoke. And the letter is also going to be to the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. The letter is requesting the potential solutions that were identified by the panelists, that we would like that to be seriously considered to support those who are suffering from serious mental illness or SMI. Just the point, if you actually read the letter, it's actually stated at the end of the letter. What I'm going to do is move that up to the front. The most common identified needs by the panelists and potential solutions were, I'm just going to mention the potential solutions really quick, was increasing supportive housing, drop-in centers, safe haven beds, expanding to programs that are for people with serious mental illness, that's intensive mobile treatment and assertive community treatment. They both have really long waiting lists. There was actually a New York Times article today about IMT. It notes that it's more than 250 people on the waiting list. What we were told is that it's actually 600 people on the waiting list. The other thing, there was 6 things. I'm up to the 3rd thing. The 3rd thing was to expand interventions such as street outreach teams and more. It's a team of medical and mental health experts. It's called Be Heard. That's being piloted currently. So expanding that. Number 4 was increasing the staffing shortage for people in the mental health field. Number 5 was there's a connection between SMI and substance abuse issues that came up a lot. So expanding harm reduction programs and the distribution of Suboxone and Narcan, and the lack of, number 6 is the lack of basic needs. So increasing mobile showers, access to haircuts, clothing, things like that. I did receive feedback from committee members, so thank you. Jessica Chait mentioned grammatical corrections and some simple suggestions which improved the letter. James Wallace, you did the same thing, thank you. Katie Stokes, you clarified some things. One thing that I wanted to point out, The experts that we had on the panel work with people who are housed and unhoused, who have serious mental illness, not only folks who are homeless. Yadira Jimenez, thank you for the feedback. Roberta, Sabrina, Christine Bertay, Marty, thank you, thank you, thank you. The other thing I wanted to add is I am going to put in the letter, because it isn't there, is that I'm gonna comment or show gratitude or appreciation that the governor, the mayor, and the city council for their attention to this issue. And that is it. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Thank you for that, Maria. Sounds like you got a lot of comments. So thanks to everybody for reviewing and providing that to help, I think, sounds like strengthen and appreciate you on this, Maria, for also working with our colleagues on boards 2 and 5 to make this a more powerful statement. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Okay, I am pleased to say that it is 8:45 and we are now moving to the voting portion of our meeting. A couple of notes on that. You received your link earlier today. Make sure to fill out your vote sheet. And just to note that we always vote individually by item. So whether or not something was referenced as a bundle, you can still vote for something as a standalone and do that accordingly on your roll call vote tonight. And then on your vote sheet, a couple of things were tabled. That's reflected on the vote sheet accordingly. Otherwise, things are straightforward. We'll have one roll call because there's no ULERP. So I pass it over to Roberta and Katie to call the roll.
Okie dokie. Thank you. Then let us start, as we always like to start, with you, Ted.
Okay, let me just get this right. I'm going to vote present not eligible on number 3, no on 11, and yes to all.
Got it. Okay. Roberta. Did I lose you?
Roberta, we didn't hear it.
Thought I saw her. Uh-oh, we're not hearing.
You're good now.
Let's keep going, Katie.
Can you hear me?
Got it.
Oh,
Sorry, my speaker, AirPods, all that other stuff. Yes to all except for 20 PNE on that one.
Lovely. Okay. Christine.
Yes to all and submitted.
Thank you. Gwen.
Yes to all and submitted.
Thanks. Leslie, Bogosian Murphy.
No on 12, yes to the rest.
Viren.
Yes to all.
Thank you. Jessica's not here. Dale.
I'm I would like to abstain on 3 and vote yes to the rest.
Thank you. Aurora. Not here.
She was.
Well, okay. I can come back. Marty.
No on 12, yes to the rest, submitted.
Thank you. Paul.
Yes to all.
Thanks. Tina.
Yes to all.
Thank you. Pete Diaz.
Yes to all.
Great. Wendy.
Yes to all and submitted.
Thanks. Matt.
E&E on 9 and yes to the rest.
Got it. Jesse Greenwald.
Yes to all. Thank you.
Candace.
Yes to all.
David Haluka.
No on 12 and yes to the rest.
Frank.
Yes to all.
Thanks. Josephine.
Yes to all.
Thanks. Yadira.
Yes to all, submitted.
Wow, great. Was Carrie here tonight?
I'm here.
Great.
Thanks. Abstain on 3 and yes to the rest.
Got it. Lowell.
Lowell's not here.
Okay. Blake.
Blake's not here.
Bert.
Yes to all.
Thanks, Bert. Chris.
I vote yes to all and no on 11.
Got it. Betty.
Yes to all.
Sarah.
Sarah's not here.
Okay. Tina. Nelson.
Yes to all.
Mike Noble.
Yes to all and submitted.
Great. JD.
No on 11 and yes to the rest.
Maria.
Yes to all.
Thanks. Alan.
Yes to all.
Brad.
Abstain on 12, yes to the rest. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Joe.
Yes to all and submitted.
Thanks. Sabrina.
Peony on 18 and then yes to the rest.
Dolores.
No on 11, no on 12. Yes to the rest.
Great. David Solnick.
I don't believe he's here.
Okay. Then I am next, and I am yes to all. And then Charlie.
Yes to all.
Kit.
Yes to all.
Thanks. Hector.
No to 11 and 12 and yes to the rest.
Got it. Thanks. Myrtle.
I believe Myrtle's with us tonight.
You said not with us?
Not with us.
Okay. James Wallace.
May the 4th be with you. Let's go, Knicks. Yes to all and submitted.
Thank you. David Warren.
Abstain on 11 and yay to all.
Leslie Williams. Not with us?
I don't believe he's here tonight. I think
Okay.
he's
And Alice Wong.
I am abstaining on 3, present and not eligible on 20 and on 21. Then yes to all.
Great. Okay. And Jeffrey.
Thanks, Katie. I am a yes on all.
And was there anybody who I called on who is here but didn't vote? Okay.
Okay, so before I ask Dolores for a motion to adjourn, I want to say that I opened with the Tonys and I'm closing with the movies because I'm really excited that tomorrow I'm able to attend the ribbon cutting for the new Look Dine-In Cinema on Far West 57th Street, bringing movies back to the northwest corner of the district.
I beat you to it. Went there on Monday.
Exactly. So with that, Ms. Rubin, the request, please.
Oh, motion to adjourn, please.
I second that motion. I want to congratulate my friend Martina on her Tony nomination. God bless.
Thank you, everybody. Stay safe and have a great night.
Good night.
Go Knicks.